Now, serial rapist Nkosinathi Phakathi will be sentenced in the Johannesburg High Court sitting in Palm Ridge this morning. He was found guilty of 90 counts of rape. Let's cross now to our reporter who's at the court, Chriselda Lewis, just to give us a sense of the build-up to the sentencing proceedings this morning. Chriselda, good morning. So the last chapter in a very long wait for many of the victims of these heinous crimes. What's the mood like ahead of that sentencing? Have any people started arriving? Please talk to us about what's happening there at the moment.
Well, Sakina, it's definitely going to be a very bittersweet moment. We're expecting some of those survivors to be at court this morning. You recall in a clip that you played at 7 o'clock this morning, speaking exclusively to one of the survivors who was raped by Phakathi in 2016, still incredibly emotional, but told me yesterday that today is the day that many of them, in fact all of them, have been waiting for. This is the day that he will be sentenced, and certainly they're saying that it has been a very, very long road for them. In fact, one of the survivors that I spoke to, who was raped in 2016, says it's been an 8-year-long wait for justice. They're hoping that this court will sentence him to life imprisonment, given that he is a danger to society. So we're expecting most of them to be at court this morning. We're expecting those proceedings to start at 8 a.m. At this court here this morning. But I'm telling you, most of them are on their way at this particular time. You'd recall that Phakathi, most of his victims were of school-going age, the youngest being 9 years old. The lady I spoke to yesterday was 14 years old at the time that she had been raped by Phakathi, lured under the guise at her home of having been sent by her parents in order to go and fetch documents at some particular area, and towards the railway lines, as she described. That's where she was raped by Phakathi, and that is certainly what we heard throughout most of this trial, where these victims, the survivors of Phakathi's reign of terror, telling us a bit about how they survived this ordeal, how they've had to pick up the pieces since this has happened to them. And you'd know, as you read in your intro a little bit earlier on this morning, his youngest victim being 9 years old. So today is the day that they say justice is expected to prevail.
Chriselda, do we know anything about Phakathi in terms of his profile, how he had managed for such a long time to continue committing these heinous crimes? His MO, the modus operandi that he employed in order to lure these girls into these perilous situations?
Well, Sakina, his modus operandi in most of these cases was that he would pose as an electrician at people's homes. So he would arrive at your home and claim to want to fix something, and innocent individuals would be inside these homes, and that's when he would pounce. In some instances, like I described in terms of the survivor that we spoke to yesterday, we spoke to SABC News exclusively, basically saying that he'd arrived at the home, pretended that the parents wanted one of them, she was at home with her sister, to go and pick up some paperwork somewhere, and innocently having gone with him, thinking that the parents had sent this man to go and pick up this paperwork. In fact, that was the day that their lives would change forever. So his modus operandi, amongst others, would be he would go and pose as an electrician at the homes of these individuals, and most of them incredibly young. The survivor who I spoke to yesterday is now 22 years old, is of school-going age. She's actually in university. And she was telling me it's been incredibly difficult over the years, having to focus, on her education, having to pick up the pieces of her broken life. But she's hoping really today that justice is going to prevail and that these courts would never see him walk out of here again.
Well, Chriselda, thanks so much for that precursor to what is to come, and of course looking forward to getting those details from you later on, and perhaps even as the survivors start to arrive at court. Chriselda Lewis watching that story for us at the Palm Ridge Court, and this is where Nkosinathi Phakathi will be sentenced today, and heinous crimes committed over an extended period, 90 victims crimes, all in all, or crimes committed that he has been found guilty of.